Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Yasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtiki Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य हे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, Canto 4, Chapter 5, Verse 1. Maitri Uvacha Bhavo Bhavanaaya Nidanam Prajapatir Asatkritaya Avagamya Naradat Parshada Sainyam Tad Advarar Bhubhir Vidravitham Krodhamaparamādade. Maitreya said, when Lord Shiva heard from Narada that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Ribu demigods, he became greatly angry. Lord Shiva understood that Sati, being the youngest daughter of Daksha, could present the case of Lord Shiva's purity of purpose and would thus be able to mitigate the misunderstanding between Daksha and himself. But such a compromise was not attained, and Sati was deliberately insulted by her father by not being received properly when she visited his house without being invited. Sati herself could have killed her father, Daksha, because she is the personified material energy and has immense power to kill and create within this material universe. The Brahmasmita, her strength is described. She is capable of creating and dissolving many universes. But although she is so powerful, she acts under the direction of the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, as his shadow. It would not have been difficult for Sati to punish her father, but she thought that since she was his daughter, it was not proper for her to kill him. Thus she decided to give up her own body, which she had obtained from his, and Daksha did not even check her. So one important thing to note here is that irrespective of position, power, etc., previously uh, everything was based on Vedic civilization. So it was all with a sense of dharma, whether right or wrong. Today it's all about power, position, money. That's all. Sati could have just herself killed her father, but it was not proper, so she didn't kill. Mm. And however powerful she might be, she's still under the direction of the Supreme Lord. So this also we keep discussing. All of us should be under the direction of Guru and under the direction of a senior devotee who under whose guidance we are doing bhakti and making progress. Nobody is independent except the Supreme Lord. Of course, devotees are as independent as the Supreme Lord because their work is they work for the fulfillment of Lord's desire. And so Krishna gives them the independence. He empowers them, right? So in some sense, they can act independently, but it is not independent because it is always in line with what the Lord wants. But He empowers them. That is why the spreading of bhakti is also an empowerment of the Lord. The bhakti is independent. Krishna has empowered his devotees to give bhakti to others. Bhakti is bhaktya sanjayate. Bhakti arises from bhakti. Mm. So this empowerment is there, but pure devotees completely know that they are under the uh, complete control of Daivi Prakriti. Uh, but they take shelter of Daivi Prakriti. They surrender. They don't try to act whimsically, independently. So here Sati also, because she was playing a very important role in the Lord's cosmic creation, so she is following dharma. While she is also a great devotee, but because of her position, she has to abide by dharma. When Sati passed away, giving up her body, the news was conveyed by Narada to Lord Shiva. Narada always carries the news of such events because he knows their import. Again, Narada is misunderstood grossly, especially in India due to cinema. Especially, I know in South India, so many movies where Narada is portrayed as some, person who just creates, just does mischief, yahan se wahan, take news from here to there and create disturbance. No, he knows the import of every action. So he does the right things, all uh, again in line with what the Lord wants. Um, so he's going and informing this to Lord Shiva because he understands what is Lord Shiva's mood, what needs to happen next, etc. When Lord Shiva heard that his chaste wife Sati was dead, then naturally he became exceedingly angry. Of course, naturally means not because she was just his wife, but she was a devotee and she was wronged. Uh, Daksha did a mistake. So to uphold dharma, he had to do the right thing. So he became exceedingly angry. He also understood that Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribhu Deva demigods by uttering the mantra of the Yajurveda, and that these demigods had driven away all of his soldiers who were present in the arena of sacrifice. Therefore, he wanted to reply to this insult, and thus he decided to kill Daksha because he was the cause of the death of Sati. Of course, this insult is not like our material false ego based insult. Right? How can a exalted personality like Sati be killed? And that too, she was under his protection, Lord Shiva's protection, because Lord Shiva was her husband. Uh, so Lord Shiva was himself not angry when Daksha spoke harsh words against him. So Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. So we can learn from that also. Shiva was not upset because Daksha said bad things about him, wrong things about him, but he was upset, he was angry because he was responsible for his wife dying, right? So he became angry. Again, so we learn from the behavior of all great Vaishnavas. Nothing Trunadapi Sunichena when it comes to ourselves, and when it comes to others, other devotees, Supreme Lord, one should become angry, which you already read. Kruddha, Krudashtauštha, Uta Sadhurjatir Jatam Tadid, Vahni Satogra Rochisham Utkritya Rudra Sahasotthito Hasan Gambhiranado Visasarjatam Bhuvi. Thus Lord Shiva became being extremely angry, pressed his lips with his teeth, and immediately snatched from his head a strand of hair which blazed like electricity or fire. He stood up at once, laughing like a madman, and dashed the hair to the ground. ततोत्तिकायस्तनुवा स्पृशन् दिवं सहस्रबाहुर्घनरुक् त्रिसूर्यदृक् करालदंष्ट्रोज्ज्वलदग्निमूर्धजः कपालमाली विविधो यथायुधः. A fearful black demon, as high as the sky and as bright as three suns combined, was thereby created. His teeth very fearful and the hairs on his head like burning fire. He had thousands of arms equipped with various weapons, and he was garlanded with the heads of men. Tam kim karomiti grinantamaha baddhanjalim bhagavan bhutanatah daksham sayagnam jahimad bhatanam tvam agrani rudra bhatam shakome. When the gigantic demon asked with folded hands, "What shall I do, my lord?" Lord Shiva is known as Bhutanatha, directly ordered, "Because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. Therefore, kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice." Here is the beginning of competition between Brahma Tejas and Shiva Tejas. By Brahma Tejas' Brahminical strength, Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribhu demigods, who had driven away the soldiers of Lord Shiva stationed in the arena. When Lord Shiva heard that his soldiers had been driven away, he created the tall black demon Virabhadra to retaliate. There is sometimes a competition between the mode of goodness and mode of ignorance. That is the way of material existence. Even when one is situated in the mode of goodness, there is every possibility that his person will be mixed with or attacked by the mode of passion or ignorance. And this is in the material world because it's all contaminated. So Even sattva is contaminated by rajas and tamas. But uh, we have to transcend this. We have to transcend these modes. What is the meaning of transcending the modes? Meaning is when, uh, because of our previous conditioning, karma phala, etc., we are pushed uh, by different modes. We are pushed and pulled by different modes, resulting in unpleasant situations. Basically, either with respect to the body or the mind, we should transcend. We should not react. We should not respond to that uh, in what is the word? Mm, to those situations that get created, or pushing of the senses, pushing of the modes. We should not react. So we should. That is called dhira. Dhira means one who doesn't react even when there is need for provocation. That happens by the power of bhakti, by the strength of bhakti. That is why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, last verse, he says that by buddhi yoga, by appropriate yoga, so one should actually gain spiritual strength, and by spiritual strength, control kama, control the senses. So, mm, uh, man- uh, yoga is indriya samyama. So, how do we know if we are making progress in bhakti or not? That we are able to control our nonsense senses and mind from doing animalistic activities, basically, which is all the modes. Um, so that is what a progressing devotee achieves, is control over himself, so that he doesn't react to the attack of these modes. Modes attack us because that is our karma phala. Uh, so our progress is depend. Our progress will be shown by us not responding, reacting to those attacks. So that is why Krishna says Traigunya Vishya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavajana. So we have to raise above the modes. That is law of material nature. All the pure goodness of Shuddha Sattva is the basic principle in the spiritual world. Pure manifestation of goodness is not possible in the material world. Of course, we should not think that the goodness in the material world is just some we can think of like there is goodness, passion, ignorance. Um, just if passion and ignorance is not there, that goodness is the feature of the spiritual world. We should not think like that. The goodness is still linked to the material modes. Shuddha Sattva is above the modes, directly connected to Krishna and Krishna Bhakti. But goodness is still on the material platform. Somebody might be, satisfied, not becoming angry, Shama, Dama, Tapa, Saucham, all these various qualities of a Brahmana. Is goodness. But this is not actually Shuddha Sattva. This is part of Shuddha Sattva. These are some attributes of Shuddha Sattva. But real attribute of Shuddha Sattva is bhakti. Mm, He is being dedicated to the Lord's service. That is Shuddha Sattva. And in Shuddha Sattva, the devotees don't budge. They don't shake because of other situations. And so even in the material world, when devotees make progress and reach the stage of Shuddha Sattva, they're completely fixed, irrespective of attacks of various modes. Thus, the struggle for existence between different material qualities is always present. The quarrel between Lord Shiva and Bhrigu Muni, centering around Prajapati Daksha, is the practical example of such competition between the different qualitative modes of nature. And so Prabhupada is saying this Lord Shiva because he represents Tamoguna. So this is fight between Tamoguna and um, Sattva. Just an example, comparison. आज्ञप्त एवं कुपितेन मन्युना तदेव देवं परिचक्रमे विभुं मेने तदात्मानमसङ्गरंहसा महीयसां तात सह सहिष्णुम्. Maitra continued, my dear Vidura, that black person was the personified anger of the Supreme Person who got it, and he was prepared to execute the orders of Lord Shiva. Uh, so Shiva is also an incarnation of the Lord. So the person that got created from Lord Shiva's anger is said to be the personified anger of the Supreme Lord. Thus, considering himself capable of coping with any power offered against him, he circumambulated Lord Shiva. Anviyamana tatu Rudra Parshader Brusham Nadadbir Vyanadat Subhairavam Udyamya Shulam Jagadantakantakam Sampradravad Ghoshana Bhushanangrihi. Many other soldiers of Lord Shiva followed the fierce personality in tumultuous uproar. He carried a great trident, fearful enough to kill even death, and on his legs he wore bangles which seemed to roar. Atartvijo yajamana sadasyaha kakubhi udichyam prasamikshrenum tamakkim etat kutah etad rajo bhud iti dvijapatnyas tadadyuhu. At that time, all the persons assembled in the sacrificial arena, the priest, the chief of the sacrificial performance, and the brahmanas and their wives, wondered where the darkness was coming from. Later, they could understand that it was a dust storm, and all of them were full of anxiety. Vatanavanti nahi santi dasyavaha prachina barhirjivati hogradandaha gavona kalyanta idam kuto rajo lokodhuna kim pralayaya kalpate. Conjecturing on the origin of the storm, they said there is no wind blowing and no cows are passing. Nor is it possible that this dust storm could be raised by plunderers, for there is still the strong King Barhi, Prachina Barhi, who would punish them. Where is this dust storm blowing from? Is the dissolution of planet now to occur? Especially significant in this verse is Prachina Barhir Jivati. The king of that part of the land was known as Barhi, and although he was old, he was still living, and he was a very strong ruler. Thus, there was no possibility of an invasion by thieves and plunderers. Indirectly, it is stated here that thieves, plunderers, rogues, and unwanted population can exist only in a state of kingdom where there is no strong ruler. Strong ruler means who is dharmic. When in the name of justice thieves are allowed liberty, the state and kingdom are disturbed by such plunderers and unwanted population, which is the current state, of affairs in Kali Yuga. The dust storm created by the soldiers and assistants of Lord Shiva resembled the situation at the time of dissolution of this world. What happens at the time of dissolution of the world? There is super heat, and then there is lot of rain. So it looked like time of dissolution. When there's a need for the dissolution of material creation, this function is conducted by Lord Shiva, specifically Rudra, which is one of the qualities, attributes, forms of Lord Shiva. Therefore, the situation now created by him resembled the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. Prasuti Mishra Striya Udvigna Chitta Uchur Vipako Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Yat Pashyantinam Duhitranam Prajeshaha Sutam Satim Avadadhyav Anagam. Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, along with the other women assembled, became very anxious and said, "This danger has been created by Daksha because of the death of Sati, who, even though completely innocent, quit her body as her sisters looked on." So Prasuti, Daksha's wife, makes she clearly calls out the reason, which is due to Sati's bad behavior. Prasuti, being a soft-hearted woman, could immediately understand that the imminent danger approaching was due to the impious activity of hard-hearted Prajapati Daksha. He was so cruel that he could not save her youngest daughter Sati from the act of committing suicide in the presence of her sister. Sati's mother could understand how much Sati had been pained by the insult of her father. Sati had been present along with the other daughters, and Daksha had purposefully received all of them but her, because she happened to be the wife of Lord Shiva. This consideration convinced the wife of Daksha of the danger which was now ahead, and thus she knew that Daksha must be prepared to die for his heinous act. So Prasuti was not like, again upholding dharma. You're not like, okay, my husband, oh, now he's in danger, let him be protected, even though he might have done a mistake, let him be forgiven. No, she's just boldly as a Kshatriya, just accepting, yeah, he did nonsense, now he'll have to die. So he should be prepared to die. She was already ready. She accepted that because This is the whole difference between, our times and Vedic times. Everything was based on dharma. No sentiments, no unnecessary sentiments. Sentiments are required where required, but not nowadays. Sentiments are there everywhere without consideration of right and wrong, but that was not there before. And of course, lot of dharma and atma. This consciousness used to be there in all activities. Unlike Kali Yuga, which is the most fallen, it's all bodily conception of life, sense enjoyment. That's all that is known and understood by people today. यस्त्वन्तकाले व्युक्तजटाकलापः स्वशूलसूच्यर्पितदिग्गजेन्द्रः वितत्यनृत्ययुदितास्त्रदोर्ध्वजान् उच्चाट्टहासतनयिन्नु भिन्नदिक्. The time of dissolution, Lord Shiva's hair is scattered and he pierces the rulers of the different directions with his trident. He laughs and dances proudly, scattering their hands like flags as thunder scatters the clouds all over the world. So, what happens during dissolution? Unimaginable. Anger, Shiva shows, because without tamoguna, destruction cannot happen. Prasuti appreciated the power and strength of her son-in-law. Lord Shiva is describing what he does at the time of dissolution. This description indicates the strength of Lord Shiva, indicates that the strength of Lord Shiva is so great that Daksha's power could not be set in comparison to it. In the time of dissolution, Lord Shiva, with his trident in hand, dances over the rulers of the different planets, and his hair is scattered just as the clouds are scattered over the directions in order to plunge the different planets into incessant torrents of rain, which also happens at the time of dissolution. And Prasuti is saying, Shiva will anyway pierce the rulers of different directions with his trident, so be prepared for it. In the last phase of dissolution, all the planets become inundated with water, and that inundation is caused by the dancing of Lord Shiva. This dance is called the Pralaya dance, or dance of dissolution. Prasuti could understand that the dangers had resulted not only from Daksha's having neglected her daughter, but also because of his neglecting the prestige and honor of Lord Shiva. So, two mistakes Daksha did. One was insulted Lord Shiva, and then neglected his own daughter. There is no way he could escape the wrong he had done. अमर्षयित्वा तमसः यतेजसं मन्युप्लुतं दुर्निरीक्ष्यं भ्रुकुट्या करालदंष्ट्राभिरुदस्तभागनं स्यात् स्वस्ति किं कोपयतो विधातुः. The gigantic black man bared his fearful teeth. By the movements of his brows, he scattered the luminaries all over the sky. Movements of his brows, those eyebrows moving, scattered the luminaries, all the planet, all the stars, etc. And he covered them with a strong, piercing effulgence. Because of the misbehavior of Daksha, even Lord Brahma, Daksha's father, could not have been saved from the great exhibition of danger, of anger. The great exhibition of anger. Because of misbehavior, again, same thing. Wrong actions, you have to just suffer. You have to face the repercussions. Today, so when, I keep thinking about it, when I'm going through any suffering, then I feel like, oh, I should not suffer. What is this, that, this, and all that. But we don't remember the misbehavior, right? Whatever wrong behavior we've done in the past, because of which we are having to suffer. We don't think about that. And here, Daksha is very powerful, very important personality, but misbehavior, so he is going to suffer now. He can't escape the anger. भव्येवमुद्विग्नदृशोच्यमाने जनेन दक्षस्य मुहुर्महात्मनः उत्पेतुरुत्पाततामः सहस्रशो भयावहा दिवि भूमौ च पर्यक्. While all the people talked among themselves, Daksha saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and from the sky. So these omens, this is a part of Jyotish Shastra, Shakuna. It's a very important part. Meaning there are various things which are indicated by omens, and these are true. There's a Shastra for this. In this verse, Daksha has been described as Mahatma. The word Mahatma has been commented upon by different commentators in various manners. Veera Raghava Acharya has indicated that this word Mahatma means steady in heart. That is to say that Daksha was so strong hearted that even when his beloved daughter was prepared to lay down her life, he was steady and unshaken. But in spite of being so strong hearted, he was perturbed when he saw the various disturbances created by the gigantic black demon. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that even if one is called Mahatma, great soul, unless he exhibits the symptoms of a Mahatma, he should not be he should be considered a Duratma, or a degraded soul. Bhagavad Gita, the word Mahatma describes a pure devotee of the Lord. Mahatma anastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashritaha. A Mahatma is always under the guidance of the internal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus, how could such a misbehaved person as Daksha be a Mahatma? A Mahatma is supposed to have all the good qualities of the demigods, and thus Daksha, lacking those qualities, could not be called a Mahatma. He should instead be called a Duratma, degraded soul. The word Mahatma to describe the qualifications of Daksha is used sarcastically, and Prabhupada clarifies. You can't call such a bad person a Mahatma. And so it was sarcastically. Shukadeva Goswami is sarcastically calling him Mahatma. तावत्सरुद्रानुचरैर्महामखो नानायुधैर्वामनखैरुदायुधैः पिङ्गैः पिशङ्गैर्मकरोदराननैः पर्याद्रवद्भिर्विदुरान् वरुध्यत. My dear Vidura, all the followers of Lord Shiva surrounded the arena of sacrifice. They were of short stature and were equipped with various kinds of weapons. Their bodies appeared to be like those of sharks, blackish and yellowish. They ran all around the sacrificial arena and this began to create disturbances. All kinds of people, like we see in various movies, English movies, there are various English movies like Lord of the Rings. So many movies are there where, we see all kind of weird entities. All of them exist. All kinds of entities exist. So anything anybody imagines uh, can potentially be a jiva somewhere in this creation. केचिद् बभञ्जु प्राग्वंशं पत्नी सा शालां तथा परे सदाग्निधरशालं च तद्विहारं मानसम्. Some of the soldiers pulled down the pillars which were supporting the pandal of sacrifice. Some of them entered the female quarters. Some began destroying the sacrificial arena, and some entered the kitchen and the residential quarters. Rujuryagnapatpatrani tataikegnin anasrayan kundeshvamutrayan kechid vibidhurvedi mekhala. They broke all the pots made for use in the sacrifice. Some of them began to extinguish the sacrificial fire. Some tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena. Some passed urine on the area. अबाधन्तमुनिनन्ये एकपत्नीरतर्जयन् अपरे जगृर्देवान् प्रत्यासन्नान् पलायितान्. Some blocked the way of the fleeing sages, some threatened the women assembled there, and some arrested the demigods who were fleeing the pandal. Maniman, one of the followers of Lord Shiva, arrested Bhrigumuni, and Veerabhadra, the black demon, arrested Prajapati Daksha. Another follower who was named Chandesha arrested Pusha. Nandishwara arrested the demigod Bhaga. So, 4 people. Maniman arrested Bhrigu. Veerabhadra dealt with Daksha. Chandesha dealt with Pusha. And Nandishwara and arrested Bhaga. There was a continuous shower of stones, and all the priests and other members assembled at the sacrifice were put into immense misery. For fear of their lives, they dispersed in different directions. Veerabhadra tore off the mustache of Bhrigu, who was offering the sacrificial oblations with his hands in the fire. Veerabhadra immediately caught Bhaga, who had been moving his eyebrows during Bhrigu's cursing of Lord Shiva, and out of great anger, thrust him to the ground and forcibly put out his eyes. So first, Bhrigu, he tore off Bhrigu's mustache. Then Bhaga, he forcibly put out his eyes. Veerabhadra. Just as Baladeva knocked off the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga, during the gambling match at the marriage ceremony of Aniruddha, Veerabhadra knocked out the teeth of both Daksha, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had also shown his teeth. So one's mustache, one's eyes, And here, one's teeth. Here, a reference is made to the marriage of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna. He kidnapped the daughter of Dantavakra and therefore he was arrested. Just as he was to be punished for the kidnapping, the soldiers from Dwaraka arrived, headed by Balarama, and a fight ensued among Kshatriyas. This sort of fight was very common, especially during marriage ceremonies. And everyone is in a challenging spirit. In that challenging spirit, a fight was sure to occur, and in such fights, there was commonly killing and misfortune. After finishing such fighting, the parties would come to a compromise and everything would be settled. This Daksha Yagna was similar to such events. Now, all of them, Daksha and the demigods Bhaga and Pusha and Bhrugumuni, were punished by the soldiers of Lord Shiva, mainly Veerabhadra. But later, everything would come to a peaceful end. So, the spirit of fighting between one another was not exactly inimical, because everyone was so powerful and wanted to show his strength by Vedic mantra or mystic power. All these fighting skills were very elaborately exhibited by the different parties of Daksha Yagna. Then Veerabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. He tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus Veerabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. So everything he tries, but he is not able to kill Daksha. Then Veerabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designated to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras. Yagnas were performed as a test of the mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by the sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras, where the Veerabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with a wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksha to the astonishment of everyone. Of course, Prabhupada has not described how come all other weapons didn't work, but just this wooden device for killing animals was able to behead Daksha. So that reasoning is not given here. Upon seeing the action of Veerabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully. And all the Bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Veerabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their masters abode Kailasa. Thus ends the fifth chapter, frustration of the sacrifice of Daksha. Okay, so we'll stop here. This is a very next chapter gives beautiful description of Kailas, power of Lord Shiva, position of Brahma, various demigods, uh, yeah, power of Lord Shiva, so many things. So very nice chapter. Uh, a lot of people actually are bewildered about Kailas. So this chapter is very nice. Gives a nice description of Kailas. Okay, so we'll stop here. I guess this is a straightforward discussion. Anything anybody wants to comment, please feel free. Yeah, no comments. Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnava ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.